Hey guys, so today I had a test and I failed. Just so you guys know, the test that I took today, it wasn't like, the big final test, it wasn't like, the final test of the year. It was like, like a normal test, So it wasn't like, the big exam for the end of the year. And also, you guys see like, this like, white stuff on my face. It's cream, guys. Like, just so you guys know, this is cream. Yeah, just in case you guys are wondering if you see that. Yeah, like I said, I had a test and I failed. I got like a 35% or something. And yeah, that's pretty bad. Like, when I first got it, like, I already knew that it was bad because, like, I'm pretty sure it was like a fucking 4 out of 20, I think. I'm pretty sure it was like a 4 out of 20. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a 4 out of 20. And when I saw that, I was like, oof, yeah, that is pretty bad. But, like, I went over to, like, my smarter friend, and he was like, yeah, that's bad, a 4 out of 20, that's pretty bad. And the thing about this test, guys, is that I actually tried with this test. Like, I actually tried to do well that time. Like, I already told you guys in one video that, like, normally when I have a test, I don't really try anymore because, like, the shit that we learn is so complicated that, like, I don't really try anymore on tests. Like, I used to try on tests, but, like, after a while, I just kind of stopped giving a shit, and I stopped trying on tests. But in this test, I actually tried. Like, I actually tried, and, like, the score that I got, it was not like, it was not like, the worst score in the world, but, like, I still failed, and, like, I actually tried that time. Like, I actually tried. And now, normally, like, if we've, like, fail a test or something like that, normally the teacher does let us, like, try again and, like, try to improve our score. And honestly, I don't think I'm gonna do that because, like, the questions that I got wrong were the questions that I had no fucking idea how to do, and the questions that, like, the questions that I got wrong were the questions I had the most struggle with. So yeah, with improving the score, yeah, I don't think that's happening because I have no fucking idea how to do those questions. And yeah, the questions that I got wrong were the ones I had the most struggle with. So yeah, improving the score, yeah, that's not fucking happening. Oh yeah, and also I don't really feel like breaking my brain on the same test that I did, I don't feel like breaking my brain over a test that I already did, I don't feel like breaking my brain because I already broke my brain today because, like, I was thinking really hard. I was actually trying on the test and I was thinking really hard. My brain is broken and I don't really feel like doing that again. And plus, I don't really know the questions either. Like I said, the questions that I got wrong were the questions I had the most struggle with. Oh yeah, and by the way, it was a math test. I don't think I mentioned that yet. It was a math test. And you guys already know that I'm not a math guy. You guys already know that I hate math and, I just hate learning in general. It's not just math. I just hate learning. I was never a learning guy. Even when I was much younger, I was not a learning guy. I was not a fan of learning, and I was just never a fan of it. I always just wanted to, just relax and watch YouTube and stuff like that, or just sit down and do nothing. I was never a learning person. I'm just being completely honest with you guys. I'm not a fan of learning, not a fan of math, not I'm not really a fan of school. I'm not a fan of that, which I guess is the reason why I was in GLP for most of my life. But now I'm in this credit course and we're learning a whole bunch of shit, and oh shit, I think there's a fucking bee. I'm pretty sure that was a bee right next to me for a second. But yeah, like I said, not a fan of math, not a fan of learning. And as for redoing the test, yeah, that's not fucking happening because the questions that I got wrong were like, really hard questions and I have no fucking idea how to do them. So I guess I'm just gonna have to stick with my 35% in my failed score, so, yeah. At this point, I think I'm probably gonna live on the streets in the future, not gonna lie, because, I'm failing high school. I don't think you guys understand. I am failing high school right now, so at this point, I might end up on the streets, or I might end up working at McDonald's or something, because, I'm not getting that diploma anytime soon, because I'm failing high school, I'm not doing well on tests, and yeah, I'm just not really doing well, so I might end up homeless, which is, the sad reality of our world, if you don't do well in school, and if you don't work your ass off, then you're just gonna have to end up on the streets, and that's the sad reality of our world, but, whatever. Anyways, peace out, guys.